We're back.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Old Reader, New Reader. Thank you all for sticking in there when we had to change up the schedule. But we're back. Our schedule's a little bit off, but here we are, and we have a guest here, Harry, our good friend. I don't know where to point at you. Here we go. There we go.
Well,
He's
I'm
down
right
there.
here.
He's down there.
But hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here. This is exciting.
Yeah, Harry's a good dude. We were drinking about a year and a half ago at a bar in Chicago, and we both started talking about this run. So I was like, oh, it only took a year and a half to talk about it on the channel. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing today? Last minute. But
I think one of my first memories with you guys was like, hi, I'm Harry. Nice to meet you. I'm from Florida. Have you read Journey in the Mystery? And can I bother you about it? That was like my opening. I'm like a traveling preacher talking about this book.
Man,
It is
takes me back to C2E2, where we could all be in person and drink and eat pizza together and
Just
have
yelling about-
2-hour-long rants in hotel
We were
rooms.
yelling about politics in a hotel room for at least 2 hours.
Oh my God.
That's what you got to get back to.
That's always a blast. So we are going to be talking about this wonderful, spoilers, omnibus called Loki, but it's really Journey into Mystery, right? And it is written by who I have always said is one of the most underrated writers. I don't think this guy gets a lot of love, and that is Kieron Gillen. Kieron Gillen had a run on X-Men, and I was like, man, this guy's really good. And then I followed him to this book. He also did a
real quick. I need to highlight this comment from Great Saiyan Man. This is like the hair looks like Lex Luthor before he lost his hair.
I'm going to get hit by lightning and I walk out bald. And that's what starts my evil reign.
Kieron Gillen, let's see. This is after. Okay. So, of course, we always talk about spoilers, but it's important to talk about the setup of this book. The setup of this book is pretty much Thor was dead for a while after Thor Ragnarok during the Avengers Disassemble storyline. JMS brought him back in a new story arc, the real Thor, not Ragnarok, not Clor. I can't even remember what the heck they call him anymore. The guy that was in Avengers Initiative. Eventually, Kieron Gillen took over the book because JMS sadly. There was a difference of opinion, and
walked off.
He just decided to leave, and it could have been one more day that did that. But hey, that's just speculation. And then Kieron Gillen came in and wrote a wonderful Thor run, and then Mad Fraction came in after Gillen. Gillen was given this particular title. Now, before that, though, there was this big event. Where Siege took place. The Siege. It was a crossover between Avengers, Dark Avengers, and Mighty Avengers, all written by Brian Michael Bendis. And Loki dies. Right? Loki dies at the end of that. And he didn't really die, right? Because he comes back. Like Loki always does.
That's what I assume from this book.
In his own devious ways. So that's where this book kind of kicks off. He is reborn as oh my gosh, how old is this kid? 11?
He's young.
He's like 11 or 12. He's not a teenager yet.
Small.
Does it matter in Asgardian years? Even?
Yeah, they're old, but he's also young.
Because this is a new Loki, though, right? It's not it's not Femme Loki. Which is Loki still being Loki.
Age.
Well, it's important to talk about the age because this book, this wonderful book, Under the Dust Jacket, this book is in the comic, like it's in here. It's just so meta. No wonder people think he's so pretentious. So it's a comedy in 30 parts and a tragedy in 31 parts.
That's
so
very true.
It's heartbreaking at the end, I think, but we'll talk about that in a second. So yes, Loki is back and he's a kid. And that's kind of where our adventures start off. Like he's made a deal with Mephisto. So we can talk about that and talk a little bit about what he did and then where it all led to. New person.
There's a lot in there, so I don't think I could even.
There is. It did not lie about 31. We'll get there. Spoilers. All right, Harry, take us away.
All right, so kind of the weirdest thing about this book is how most of the series is connected to some kind of crossover or another. This book starts in the middle of Fear itself, which was a kind of a nice surprise from that boring event because Kieron Gillen was off the Thor run for a while, and then him and the main artist came back for the Fear Itself tie-in. And that opening arc was just about how Loki needs to find a way to stop the serpent, the evil brother of Odin, kind of like behind the scenes and assembling this team of evil people, or kind of less morally good people to thwart this seemingly unstoppable prophecy and what have you. I'm trying really hard to remember Fear Itself. But what was cool about it was that, obviously this is a kid. He's very young and he doesn't have his magic that the typical Loki does. So it's almost completely lies and deception that the character is using to get ahead during that opening arc. And, I think that's a really fun way to have a book about Loki. It's not really so much magic or strength. It's just a kid and his smarts, and also using the reputation of his former self, because it's very important that this character compared to the other Loki is more inherently well-intentioned. He knows what his old self does and he just doesn't want to go that way. But to survive this war, he has to look like he's going that way and piss off basically everybody around him during it. And I like it very much for that. It's just like a cool, thoughtful, kind of sneaky opening arc that, I was reading it in issues when it was coming out, and that was the most fun of the Fear Itself series. I'd argue it's the only good part of the Fear Itself events, but that's me.
So. I think it takes a pretty unique type of writer to write a story about characters that are in this big crossover. I think there's other few writers that can do that, like Peter David, I think Grant Morrison. Whenever there's a crossover event, I always think of writers like that can, you go on and do your crossover, and I'll have my characters do their part, but play an intricate role in that crossover, like what he's doing, what he is scheming behind the scenes, right? Like it's going to come back later on and affect everything. It's wonderful, right? Because it's like one issue leads into the next, sets up the next issue. There's going to be ramifications of what he did in the previous issue, but then everything has ramifications at the end of this run.
That really is kind of the full arc of the story, is Loki kind of incurring debts and then pushing things off issue to issue and just trying to find ways out of that. And eventually, the bill comes due. Another cool part of the book is that it's got a lot of really great single issues. There's a really good one in the Fear Itself run with the Mephisto in a bar, just kind of giving you
I love that one.
That one, even when I was reading it, and not going to say when I read it, but it was really, it just like blew me away. Just like it's a really good balance of kind of plot building and just having some fun with the world. I really like Kieron Gillen for that. I think this is like a freakishly good use of a Marvel event comic while also doing his own thing.
Well, I even realized that this first part of this was related to any event at all, which to me speaks well of it. Yeah. Because there were instances later where it was very obvious that it was like crossover event, but this first part I had no idea. And then until you mentioned Fear Itself, it's like, oh, that's why those covers look that way.
Yeah.
Because it didn't even cross my mind, because I've seen the books, right? But I've never read them. So I had no idea.
You're not missing much.
I think it still read very well regardless. And that speaks well, because most events do not. Or most event tie-ins do not.
Yeah, the Fear Itself event was just like hammers and villains breaking stuff, and then Journey Mysteries. Like, what if there's this thoughtful, clever book kind of about the nature of storytelling off to the side that's also got Loki in it, which was really nice, because that event took like 7 months and none of it was good. I'm being harsh to Fear Itself.
That's okay. We can be harsh here. It's fine.
It's I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Matt Fraction's most of his stuff. But I love the characters that he kept meeting throughout this run. Like, so he goes to Hela, right? Because Underworld. And he's plotting things against Hela and Mephisto. Like, going to one side, going, oh, man, you're never going to believe the shit Mephisto's trying to do. And then going to Hela, and it's like,
oh, girl.
Can you...
Yeah.
And Hela has this other character we're introduced to named Leah, right? Who's kind of like a handmaiden. And that comes into play a little bit later, which is also part of the heartbreaking part of this book. And she's also a young girl, and together with Loki, it's like it's not a romantic thing, but it's more like a kid, like at odds with each other.
It's like cute, antagonistic a little bit. You know, they're kind of annoyed by each other, but they definitely stick around because they like each other on some level.
It feels like an anime friendship.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, I can see that, and I think it's adorable, and they both fit together so well. And I mean, she plays a bigger role later on when things happen. So we have the Fear Itself arc that leads, which is a really cool way how, like I said, this book comes into the story.
That first arc is very complicated because it's about Hela having a slice of afterlife in Mephisto's hell, and he's like leasing it to her, but then Loki starts lying to get them to fight each other, and then like pretends to be an emissary to speak with the serpent, and there's like all this like factional politics that's going on like immediately, and you're just like,
which
okay,
I
I guess
dig.
It is. It's like a very, very wordy, kind of thoughtful little book, which can be a lot if you're not in the mood for it. But if you are, it's so much fun to read.
Mm-hmm. And the narration's great in this too. Like I really liked all of that. It's just fun. It feels very fun and very fantasy.
Yeah.
And then you put that with like the politics of hell and everything else. And I love that kind of stuff. Like I love just like coming from a security studies background. Like I like watching how these like different pieces play together and how he maneuvers them.
Mm-hmm. And it's, Kieron Gillen's definitely very meta, often pretentious writer, but he likes fantasy so clearly. Like he loves all this stuff, and that just is so infectious. You're really into it.
Yeah, I don't understand the people that are pissed off that he's going to be writing Warhammer, right?
Oh, he's the
perfect fit. He obviously it's like he took his game of Dungeons and Dragons when he was a kid and made it into this journey into mystery in his Thor run. Right? Yeah. I haven't read Die yet, but I know that a lot of people really like aspects of Die because of that reason.
Yeah, it's funny because, when it was Fear Itself was coming out, Matt Fraction was writing Thor, and I think I like Matt Fraction more than you do, Omar, but he definitely, if he's a bad fit for a book, you can tell immediately. Like the voice is just wrong, and I don't think he does very good fantasy at all, so you can just see like a writer whose voice feels more authentic just right to the side with the side book here.
Somebody wanted to see some of the artwork, and I was just going to show it off here as we talk a little bit.
There's a lot of artists in this book, which is a pro and a con, depending on. It's mostly a con, but most of the artists are great. It starts with a Doug Braithwaite. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but he drew Kieron Gillen's Thor run, so it was kind of like a reunion of sorts. And he's got that old classic fantasy thing. Like all of his art looks like it's painted in this old kind of exactly like fantasy kind of aesthetic.
So it kind of it looks like this. There's young Loki texting, of course, because that's what he does, and there is Thor. So he also did a run on Wolverine Origins.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
He draws a good Thor. I missed that Thor costume. That was like vaguely futuristic, but still fantasy.
Yeah. So that's kind of what the artwork kicks off as. And
it definitely dips sometimes.
There's one, I've said this before, but I'm not sure I pronounced the name, but Will Portasio or what
you go to hell. But go ahead. I'm sorry. What were we saying?
All right. Are you going to say that the artist in the back half of the Fear Itself run?
It's an unfair comparison.
Do you want to show some art from his?
Let me look.
From that part of the book.
Will's is a very acquired taste from the 90s. He was one of the homage studios, that's it, with Jim Lee.
I don't think he can draw kids. They all look like melted candle people, and it's
melted candle people.
I'm telling you.
Let me find. Hold on, I'm finding it.
There's some page. There's like one page where he's like trying to smile at Leah, and it just looks like this rictus grin, like scaring you to death. I don't know. I think the art's mostly very good, especially the last issue, which we can get to.
Well, because it's your girl.
It is.
That's why I was like, ooh, here we go. There's Harry's girl.
We were all in Chicago. It's like, that guy really likes Stephanie Hans. He won't stop talking about it.
Hey, Stephanie, I'm back again. Hey.
Didn't you get some original pictures? Oh, but Wilson's art has what's it called though? The story with the seer.
Yes, the Desir.
Which is a messed up story. Reading this again, like I remember reading this the first time, and that stuff didn't really hit me.
Well, they were established in the Thor run,
Yeah.
Thor, and then they really just get much more to do in this, and they kind of become just like these evil ghouls to kind of being representations of just like abused or oppressed women throughout history, which is yeah, I mean
It's
that's
pretty messed up, like the role that they have to play. But this is Will Spertasio's artwork.
show the
those-
kids, show the
Here's the
yeah,
kids.
that.
What are you talking about, man? He looks
that's
manly.
okay. No, that's definitely how children look, for sure. I don't have anything against his work in general. I just don't think he's good on this book. I don't know what to say about it.
No, I get it. Yeah, he's an acquired taste for sure. But that was a really cool run with the Desir, which leads into the whole New Mutants crossover too.
Yeah, I didn't understand a lot of that the first read because I just still don't know a ton about the New Mutants. But that's a pretty fun kind of like idea of just all of the Marvel fantasy heroes getting brainwashed into thinking they're like mechanics and dairy workers.
I
Oh,
like the
wait.
idea a lot. I think I would have liked it more had it not been crossover with New Mutants, only
Yeah.
because I don't have any experience with them. So like, if it was just Thor crew, I think I would have been fine.
Plus, it was Dan Abnett writing the New Mutants. It was
Abnett and Lanning.
and Lanning. Yeah, the
Yeah.
voice was, again, just to get back to the voice. That was fine. It was much more like workmanlike, and it kind of lacked that kind of lyricism and kind of wittiness of Kieron Gillen stuff when you get to it. I think the art is really good in this for the most part, though.
The arc with the New Mutants harkens back to the the Asgardian wars and back to the Louis Simonson's run, where Valkyrie, or I'm sorry, where one of the characters is a Valkyrie. And I just wanted to show my favorite part of that, and then we can talk about the Christmas issue because I think the Christmas issue was freaking brilliant.
It's pretty
Waiting
adorable.
to talk about the
And
beautiful.
who doesn't love Thorgy?
He's good at single issues, and that's a really good single issue.
Damn it, where is? Okay, I
I
can't
love
find
any
it.
Christmas issues in comic books.
The best part about the New Mutants crossover is when Thor's a mechanic, right? And they're like, "Oh, you're Thor," and he's like, "Haha, I've
You
seen
like
that
the movie?
stupid movie too." But do you all know what he's talking about?
The Thor movie, no.
No, he's talking about Adventures in Babysitting, where the character played by
Oh.
who's the guy that played Kingpin? Vincent.
Yeah.
Yes. So that guy played this mechanic in Adventures in Babysitting, and when the girl who's a huge Thor fan sees him, she's like, "Oh my God, you're Thor, but you don't remember you're Thor." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I love that movie." So I was like, "Oh, that's so brilliant to have that little Easter egg in there."
Did not know there was a reference to a 1987 movie.
Random
I just
movie,
assumed
right?
This came out after the actual movie, and that's why
Oh,
sure it did.
he looks identical
I've
to the
never seen
character.
that movie.
It's a great movie.
Fear itself was coming out around the time of the Thor movie. I remember that. That was just
Yeah,
all
because they had
hammers.
the movie covers, which were atrocious. It's like
I remember that.
I hated movie covers, man.
Yeah.
Then we had the arc with the Otherworld, which I don't know what it is lately. I was never a fan of the Otherworld in the pages of Uncanny X-Force. And in this one, this is the one with Captain Britain and all the British characters in this one. And it was okay in this one.
I think it's really good, actually. I think that arc is a really good, just so much of this book is about, new cycles starting and kind of the new guard trying to improve on the old, either through, Loki fixing his past or, slightly oppressive things that Board did to the Disir being fixed. And then, the Otherworld arc is looking at this ancient, fantastical kind of like classic fantasy setting being overtaken by this monstrous industrial threats, and you're like, oh yeah, I get it. And then you spend an issue where the villain talks about it, and he's just like, yeah, change is good, and industry and progress is important, and like, yeah, we actually are on the wrong side here. And it's just that idea of like new methods and approaches kind of seeping into this fantasy world. And I think the art's really good. It's Rich Elson, I believe, or something like that. And it's very classic, but super expressive, and just the storytelling is really good in it.
It reminded me of Carlos Pacheco. His artwork in that run.
Definitely, they have kind of similar.
I like the twist in that though. You're right. Yeah,
And
where he realizes that he's working for the wrong side.
And again, so much of that arc is, making deals and playing the angles and that eventually coming back to be very bad in the form of a suitor, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Maddie, so you read this all in like a record amount of time? Is that what happened?
Yeah,
It's
that's
crazy.
my bad. In my mind, I kept thinking this was like a shorter run. And so I put it off because I like to read right before the show when possible because I have ADHD. I don't remember everything better that way. And I didn't realize it was an omnibus until I opened it after work today. And so I was like, oh, shit. Because I have the digital copy. And so I was like, I gotta go.
Well, it's not a light read. So like, what was it
not.
like just digesting all of that in such a short time
It was
span?
a lot, and I definitely want to go back and read it again slowly because I feel like some of like there's a lot of really good prose in here, and I feel like it was wasted on me having to read quickly. Unfortunately,
I think whenever the name, like, there's certain names in comic book in the comic book industry that when you look at it, you're like, shit, and shit in a good way. Like,
Yeah.
I gotta set time aside. Because in order from it's like TV shows too, right? Like there are TV shows, and I'm not gonna lie. I think I've talked about this on the channel before, where I'm just like, fuck it, TV show, whatever. I'm on my phone. But then there are TV shows that I'm like, fuck my phone. I'm watching this.
Yeah.
in this, like my copy, they do include like the hey, this is what happened.
Yeah, for what now?
They include like in each issue. They like the digital copy I have. It's like, oh, this is what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Oh, those
like,
those
okay,
pages
good.
were brilliant.
Thank you.
The catch-ups.
Well, they're sassy.
Catch-ups.
I mean, they're like it's fun writing, and also like it kept me okay.
It's
Good. I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, it's little touches like that. Like you can tell they really wanted to have some fun with all of it, including the recap pages, which is appreciated.
I think that's one of my favorite moments is during the recap page. I think he gets fed up and he picks up the caption.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, that's enough of this. Oh man, that was awesome.
What did you all think of the the nightmare arc? It's like right after Fear itself with the Fear Crown and what have you.
I was confused for a while because is this a character we've seen before? Nightmare, is that like an older?
He's
character?
a Marvel character.
Yeah. He's been in Marvel.
Okay, I don't know nothing about it. There's like that's my weakness coming into this because I don't know anything about anyone. So at Nightmare Trip, I was like, is this Marvel's like Sandman? Like, I don't know.
Kieron Gillen's, he's talked about it being a big like Sandman homage.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see.
Yeah.
Nightmare and Despair are two characters like at Marvel that are always at odds. Usually you throw in Mephisto and it's that kind of party. So I kind of, anytime I see Mephisto or any of those characters, it's always like, oh, well, I guess,
Elliot says hi, Harry.
Hey, Elliot. It's you got the Arsenal logo. I love that.
Of course. He's married to me. He knows what's required.
He knows the branding. He's got to get rid of it.
That was the crown that he kind of...
The Fear Crown.
I love that because that comes into play later on. So he created it as like this little fixture, and they're fighting over it. Yeah, right.
It's an unbreakable loop where it's like he creates this all-powerful artifact that be fought amongst against these like eternal gods, but no god can accept not having it. So they're just in this perpetuity, like a violence, and it's a great idea.
And I'm trying to find the page because that's the most Dungeons and Dragons page out of the whole book.
He literally made a board game for a page, and I think one of these days I'm going to try to play it. I don't know if it's actually built for that, but I hope
it's like a drinking game. I remember playing it back in college. Like it's an endless loop of going around and around. Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah. No, that's a really good one. And I think the art's really good in that one as well. I just wish I had read more Sandman to understand all those little hints or like references like Adventures in Babysitting. I would have never thought of that, Omar. Thank you for pointing.
That's not from Sandman. That's from me just being old and having a crush on a leading girl.
Like that kind of thing.
I love that issue. The Christmas issue is my favorite one, I think. I know you like the Mephisto, the devil goes in a bar.
It's the same.
That one's brilliant, right? Like, what was it? The Last Call. Like, the dude just walks in, starts off with a joke, so the devil walks into this bar, and he's talking to the bartender. And he's talking about Odin being at odds, kind of giving you a recap of what happened in Fear itself.
He's kind of like explaining the idea of like multiple and like religious entities and afterlives all existing in the same world, and it's really just setting the stage for the rest of the run, but it's also the devil just talking with this guy in the bar, and it's like such a perfect
he's complaining. He's complaining.
I know.
Right? He's like, no one gets to sit in the chair, no one gets to be the devil.
By the way, I love that that's like the chair of like Jesus Christ, right?
Oh,
like,
right, yeah.
Yeah, crucified. It's amazing. And like Kieron Gillen writes an incredible Loki, an incredible Mephisto, an incredible
Mr. Sinister.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And I know some people had issues with that, but I'm like, no, it actually fits that character.
What, Sinister?
Sassy Sinister? He's the guy that created Sassy Sinister. Right.
That's easily the best Sinister.
Like people that have read X-Men for years are like, he would never. Dude, the guy's been around since like the 1800s. He would.
He's a fanciful kind of dramatic guy. That's what I got from all that. You know, he likes putting on a show.
Look at that. Sorry, Omar, but Harry's my favorite.
Yeah.
Guy hasn't even been on for like 30 minutes. And he's already
it's the Gene Hackman hair that's going to fall off eventually. I don't know.
So
let's talk about the Christmas issue. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
So the Christmas issue is, again, that everything here has a purpose, and story arcs from 4 or 5 issues ago are kind of now showing back up, such as like breeding of his hellhound, and he gets a bunch of little puppies.
They're so cute.
And he's just trying to get rid of these little puppies.
I loved the original Hellhound anyways. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
And then we get little ones, because I've read like War of the Realms where like
stories in that.
Story's like big in that.
Yeah. And so I was so excited.
I'm still I'm like a little like protective, where I'm like, Jason Aaron, you write an okay story, but I don't know if you're really doing as well as Kieron Gillen. That issue looks unbelievable. It was Mitch Breitweiser, is that right?
Yep.
It is perfect.
And you got Volstagg as Santa Claus. You've got, and again, that one is like that one's just kind of like character stuff, where it is just about like, we got this fun little relaxing issue, but also got these adorable puppies, and one of them's like a YouTube star at the end. But that's also, you know, the whole point is like the nastiest vicious one should be put down, but Loki's like, this dog can change. I wonder who else can change. Like, it's almost like he's talking about himself.
And that's the wonderful arc about this, right? Like, it's like, can Loki really change?
That's really it.
The big question you have since from the beginning, because even though it's Loki, it's not the same character. It's not the same guy that you've been reading about in Avengers. It's not the guy that you read about in Siege. That Loki died but made a deal. So there's always a loophole. And then this Loki is like a reincarnation, and he didn't even have the memories of being Loki. Yeah. He doesn't have any magic.
Well, and this one cries.
He does. He's sad.
I like that.
But briefly, which I think is an amazing little phrase.
It's such a good line.
I know. There's so many good lines like that. And what's really good about
the last issue, there's so many powerful moments.
We got to, let's give it a minute before that. But what's cool about kind of like the rebirth there, like the post-Siege thing, is what Kieron Gillen's so good at, is like adding meaning to some story decisions that might not make sense. Like, I like Siege. I don't know why Loki sacrificed himself in it. It doesn't make a lot of sense in that story. So then this, Kieron Gillen's saying, well, obviously, if Loki killed himself, there would be a plan. And the plan is to break his own cycle. And my favorite little wrinkle in all of that is that he would hide his resurrection plan in the library, because Thor would never look there.
Yes, that was awesome.
Such a good beat. That's so funny. But I really like, it's like Kieron Gillen's so good at taking other stories and imbuing them with a little bit extra meaning, or making them make some more sense. He really, that Mephisto issue with the bar, he even ties back to Jason Aaron's Wolverine book, where Wolverine goes to hell and fights Satan. And even in the Mephisto issue, he's like, this guy wants to be Satan and is very trying to make himself seem like Satan, but he's clearly a poser. And he just ties that all in so well, but it never feels like it's just like work. It feels like just adding to his own story.
I think that there are a few writers that do things like that, right? Like you have Alan Moore. I can't believe I'm comparing Kieron Gillen there, because he rightly deserves it. Like, there's a lot of things that he did right, and one of the things that he does that very few writers can do is he's giving you the context of the story, but there's so much more. Like, he's actually talking about the physical work. Because Mephisto is one of these characters in Marvel that's kind of confusing. Is he the devil? Or is he just like a guy that lives in hell?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like there's an inside joke that he's writing about that if you read comics long enough, so much so that when we talk about the final issue, there's a specific line that I'm like, oh well, this is everything.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've read this enough that you know what I'm talking about. But like
This-
when he mentions that, and we'll get to that, it goes back to the whole playing with your toy chest at Marvel Comics or at DC, right? End of the day, you got to put your toys up. So I think let's talk about the last story arc. Not the final issue, but the crossover with Thor about the burning tree.
I think it's good. I think just the biggest issue is that it ties into the Matt Fraction's book more, which I think is an aggressively okay book.
But if you're like me, or actually like Maddie, and you're in a rush to read this, you look forward to those Matt Fraction issues where you're like, I don't have to get thinking caps off. Let's just read this. Okay, he's fighting Surtur again. Got it. All right, got it. Awesome. Nothing happens in those issues. Whereas in Kieron Gillen's issues, there's so many things playing behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's different because with Fear Itself, there's like the big story, Fear Itself, and then beneath the surface, there's Journey and the Mystery, and then this final arc is very much a crossover between the two, playing off each other. And it's much more straightforward in that way, which is to say it's a little more simple, which is to say it's a little more boring. And I don't fully put that on Gillen, although maybe a little bit, but it's kind of like a basic war story with Surtur. I've never had to say that out loud before, but
yeah. It's probably right.
Sure. Why not? Yeah,
sounds right.
I was just happy to see Leah again, so I didn't care.
Yeah,
that was all I needed, really. I was like, oh.
She's back. Yeah, God. That issue where Leah gets reabsorbed.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
So sad because I didn't see it coming.
So that was the twist. That was the twist about her being the handmaiden.
And then I was like, oh. I didn't really feel like Loki reacted. I was like, oh, did you know this is going to happen?
Yeah.
I was like, but I was like, you... Dude,
I guess he was holding it close to the chest, but yeah, he does take it very well, considering.
Yeah, which makes sense later to me. But like, man, I was so sad.
Yeah, they're the best part of the book, their relationship. And it's never like fully friendly, but they do get more camaraderie and what have you.
When she calls him a BFF before she floats away.
That's really sad.
Because she finally gets it.
Yeah.
BFF.
This book kicks you in the heart many, many times. It really enjoys just like setting up these great relationships and then just yanking them out just to mess with you. But none more so than the final arc.
Real quick question. Do you have to read Fear Itself to understand what's going on in Journey into Mystery? I did not.
That's good.
Fine.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, there's a prophecy in Fear Itself that's very basic. It's that the serpent will kill Thor. And then Journey Mystery is kind of showing all of these moving pieces that kind of build up to that prophecy that makes this very simple thing seem very complicated. But in Fear Itself, it's just a very simple thing, and it kind of sucks. So I don't know. It looks really pretty. It's Stuart Immonen. It looks gorgeous. It's just, God, man, that was not a good event.
It was empty. Bunch of guys got hammers and armor that looked cool, but that was about it. Like, I think my favorite one was the Juggernaut. I'm like, the guy already has an armor. Like, why does he need to be souped up?
There's some hero out there that's like, that's not fair.
There's a really good single Captain America moment in Fear Itself, but it's not worth reading the arc for. I mean, what's funny about, because Fear Itself came out and it had that thing where it had like a great conceit, it was like, it's all these Marvel events with these amazing pitches. It's like, what if, the world's being affected by all the uncertainty with the financial crash and all of the division back when we thought that was the extent of it. And like, it's a great idea. And then you get the book and it's just like a bunch of hammers being thrown around, and that's all it is.
It was a bad event because it never got an oversized hardcover or an omnibus. It's got a standard size hardcover and a trade paperback. That's it.
Because it was like, oh, all these characters get Thor hammers and they're evil and they can't be killed, and we're having fun yet, and that's it. And that there's like no subtext, there's no interesting things going on. It's just, the interesting subtext is Journey in the Mystery, because it's literally what's happening behind the scenes. Yeah,
and then. Never mind. I'm not gonna bitch about Fear Itself. It had its issues, but I did like the artwork, so I'd get an omnibus because I'm stupid like that.
Just roasting Fear Itself for 30 minutes.
So everything, yeah. So Leah again, that was cruel, man, because it turns out that she was just Hela's hand, and then Hela transported her somewhere safe, which we're led to believe is the past. So maybe she is Hela. She grows into Hela.
That's
right?
a whole other thing. Yeah. I mean, what's cool about this book is that each arc is its own thing, but it very much is like a very simple line of just progressively worse things are popping up, and Loki is pushing them aside just to get them out of the way. And that culminates with raising Surtur from the dead, or from limbo. And that kicks off this whole this war for the final arc. And that's the one where it's like, yeah, you can't like escape from this. This is on you. And how are you going to pay for this? And he finds
it. The way he does everything, I'm like, yeah, same.
There's just a closet.
No, I can't deal with this right now.
I'll take care of this later. And then like it just all builds up.
Same, Loki, I get it.
Yeah. So, which is good. And then he finds a solution, but then he doesn't. And that's the saddest part of the book.
Yeah. He won.
So I don't think he did.
Yeah,
which
so
makes
he
it
changed himself.
Yeah, but even let's look at this really quick.
That's the question, right?
Let's look at this and then break it down. Let's look at this and break it down. So the final issue is drawn by this okay artist who's not as good as Wheels Portacio.
I just walk out.
You're gonna do Harry like that?
I just
talk about my boy Wheels Portacio. I can't talk
Camera's
about.
on. I leave.
All right, let me share the screen really quick and look at this beautiful artwork. So what's interesting about this? I was reading a little bit about it. Like I think it's a forward, or it's maybe in the back, where Gillen didn't even know that Hans was an artist. Like just thought it was a cover artist.
Because she did the covers for the entire book. Stephanie
And then he was like, "Oh, you can do
sequential
art."
She's like, "Yeah, I've got books."
So she draws.
I got a character. He looks just like Varric from Dragon Age, but don't ask me about it.
I know. It's just straight up Varric. I thought that she's like, no, it's not Varric. I'm like, it's clearly Varric. Well, what's funny is that, this book has had like up and down artists. We can debate on which are up and down, but it has been inconsistent. But, to give the idea of finality, it does make sense to have this very painted fantasy-based artist be the final issue person, which is, this book, for being a Marvel comic that's connected like 6 different events and has a bunch of crossover continuity, it does feel like its own thing, which, Maddie, you just showed because you didn't feel like you were missing anything.
But yeah, I agree with the final. I'm so glad that it was Stephanie Hahn's artwork at the end, because I feel like there was a lot of really poignant, heartfelt moments at the end that I do not think would have been as well communicated if any of the other artists in the book did it.
No,
you
not
really
even close.
You needed her artwork, and you needed the colors to really put that feeling forward.
There's such like a softness and melancholy to what is happening throughout that entire final issue. And yeah, you're right. She nails that so well. I mean, do we want to get into what happens exactly? Because the issue starts with
I think it's important.
Yeah, I mean, Surtur's defeated and it's all good, but it's revealed that throughout all this, that Mephisto has learned about this impossible fear crown that was set up earlier, and he's broken that closed loop and he's grabbed it, and now he is like, the apocalypse, the end all be all, like, and he's gonna nuke the earth, wipe it all out. And the question is, how do you stop that? And Loki realizes very early on that because the fear crown was made from his thoughts, that if you erase his thoughts and his person, the fear crown will go away. So he's got to die. And, that whole issue is just him trying to figure out if he can get around it, but also making his peace with this thing. And the whole book has been, he'll find a way out. He'll find a way past this.
And that's the character of Loki.
That
right?
is.
It's the history that we've come to know, that no matter what, no matter when you see Loki get eaten in half or blown away, he always comes back because he knows how to play the game 3 steps ahead of everybody else. This is a different Loki. And this is where you learn, of course this is a different Loki, because the real Loki's sitting at that chair. But he gets a chance to, before he does disappear, right, from existence, is to say goodbye, like the 3 people, I think.
He gets 3 goodbyes or 3 things he can do.
So of course he sees Leah, which
is bitter.
Yeah.
It's a bad breakup, which I think we've all been there. It was
rough.
I mean, but what we talked about is shit either, so I get it.
Well, it's been, we talked about it earlier, is that she he has Leia sent to the past to save her, I guess, but he can't tell her what. That's another thing. He can't say why he's doing any of this.
Yeah,
drives the knife.
Which sucks.
It does. It really just
because you're like, come on, man.
I know.
He's like, first of all, he's a kid.
Like, she's like, I've waited millennia for you to grow up, and I'm gonna kill you. He's like, hold up, this is why. She's like, that's brilliant. Damn it.
I know.
Fine. Just resigned herself. Like, oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where it's like that storytelling idea, is Hela Loki's mom? Like that's been discussed in fantasy and fiction and what have you, in mythology. Is she? We don't know. And it's like you can decide how you feel. It's ambiguous, but also being kind of artful, which is very hard to do in just a few pages. Again, like this is all very eloquent work being done. And then he goes to Thor. He
doesn't even say bye, like, to her. Oh man, the Thor one's the one that got me. Because like, fucking Thor, dude. Because he's like, you got to do it. Like when I come back and I become bad, you got to kill me. And Thor's like, no, because you're my brother and I have faith. And then that last line that Loki says, you really are the biggest, sweetest idiot in the whole 9 realms. Like, oh, you bastard.
It's so good. And it's so like it's the nicest that relationship has ever been, probably the nicest it ever will be. It's kind of like a perfect moment.
Yeah.
It really, and the art's so good, them hugging, and it's just, oh man, I love that page so much. I love a lot of pages in this final issue. I'm looking at it right now.
The way it breaks, I really appreciate, because they do this thing where like, and that was it. No, that wasn't it. That was really fun. Oh, I really liked it.
It's a little cute with the happily ever after thing. I mean, so that
was wrong.
It was wrong. It offended you.
Like, how are you gonna fuck with my feelings like that, man? Because even like subconsciously, it's not gonna have a happy ending, right? Like where he thinks he's going back to the past and living his days off with
that's the worst part. Is that I mean, we should say that this whole thing where he has to erase himself, this has been revealed to be a big plot orchestrated by the original Loki from Siege. He was like a memory or like a fragment who's just been playing this the whole time, and it's a commentary on Marvel continuity, which you were talking about earlier, Omar.
Yeah, it's
So there's because he tried so hard, but he's trapped in his own narrative, so it doesn't matter like what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And he did change.
Yeah, he won. But
at the end of the day,
it doesn't change anything.
He lost. Right? Because who wins?
The house.
The house always wins.
House always wins.
And that is the house of ideas, Marvel Comics.
and
I'm like, God, way to put it and smack me in the face.
I know. And he's looking at the camera when he says it. Like, we can't change any of our stories that way. And it's it
harkens back to earlier, because there's a point right at the beginning where he looks back at us.
Yeah.
And he's like,
what's
going to happen to any of us? I'm like,
and I mean, that's just to anybody that has, ever been a fan of a popular comic book run. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, your characters are going to go back into their toy box, and some other writer will come in and get to play with the toys for a few years.
Or kill, but this is the
kill
run,
them or do them whatever they want with the characters.
But this is the run that knows that and weaponizes it and makes you feel so much.
So self-aware.
It's a whole book about change and if you can be different or better and if it's possible. And the answer is yes, but you're still a Marvel Comics character and we have a Thor movie coming out. So
we need big Loki back. And then after this, we see young Loki again, but it's not him, right? It's Loki. So in Young Avengers.
Yes. So basically the book ends with young Loki saying, I changed. You will never change. I will die, but I changed. I do think he won a little bit, Omar. I'm not like it's like a very, very bittersweet victory.
Oh, it's a wrong win though. I feel like nothing changes.
When this is over, you're just gonna look out the window and play Joy Division, just quietly cry.
Alexa, play.
There were a couple moments that got me in this run, man.
Yeah. So, but it basically ends with him I think they old Loki literally says swallow the lie, and symbolically, young Loki bites into this crow. That's a whole other thing, and and then he's erased, and the original Loki has taken over. And now is in his body like an imposter with this whole new template where he's a good guy. But the whole point is in doing all this, you will never change. You will always be this corrupted evil version. And, you know, it's just, yeah, I think just the Marvel commentary there is tremendous. I think it's one of the smartest, most powerful things that they've done in a while. And it makes me sad too.
Yeah.
I think there are very few runs like this. You know, you hardly find a run that's self-aware of what it is without getting silly, like Deadpool or Harley Quinn, right?
That's
or even in a way like She-Hulk, right?
Yeah.
In the way that Byrne She-Hulk was, or Dan Slott She-Hulk. But they lean more towards the comedic side. Right.
Those are both saying.
This is more like Grant Morrison Animal Man. It's a book that is self-aware, that knows that in the end nothing changes, and then the creator, you know, gets to have fun with these characters while he's still there.
Well, the question for you is, you know, did the book we just read, did that all matter in the sense that you did see that character change and it affected you? Does it matter in that way? Or is, you know, the fact that the character ultimately ends in being, you know, more evil again, does that weigh more to you? And I think that's kind of fun seeing how people respond to it differently.
Well, now I'm just sad because I really like this Loki.
It's sad.
I really like his narrative. I really like what he's driven by. And now I know, having not read any other Loki, I'm going to read a different Loki and be like,
so Kieron Gillen did write about this. This isn't the right. Well, that's the fun thing, because right after this, Marvel Now, the relaunch happens, and they go into Young Avengers with James McKelvey. And young Loki is a character in that book.
But it's not
it's not him. On the outside, you're like, oh, this is a good Loki, and all the characters think that for the most part. But you, the reader, is like, that guy is a trap. You have got to. He's a snake in the grass, and that kind of tension is. It is. It should be said, Loki never goes back to fully evil. I mean, I think Kieron Gillen mentions in like a forward and afterwards in the book that like Tom Hiddleston more than anything changed that forever.
I was reading that in here.
Yeah, because Tom Hiddleston's Loki is never fully evil. You're never quite sure, and that like ambiguity just, you know, even more so becomes what that character is forever. I mean, that's been in War of the Realms. That's been it, you know, in the Kibblesmith single series, and yeah, I mean, this book is where
did you read Agent of Asgard?
I did.
My wife loved that book.
I did. I liked it a lot. That was I think Ewing's done better stuff, but I think it's a really, really amazing like opening Marvel book for him. I don't like it as much as this because there's a lot of things I don't like as much as this, but it's a really good book.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's freaking out of print right now.
Is it really, man?
Yeah. The complete collection is right. Or somebody was asking me if it was out of print when I was looking for it. But yeah, it's a really good run. I liked it. I'm a big Al Ewing fan. Another guy that finally is getting some recognition with Immortal Hulk. But for years, I mean, he was writing really good stories for Marvel with the Avengers and Ultimates. Yeah,
I mean, when Ultimates came out, I was like, oh, this is the guy now. I didn't realize. I mean, I guess it didn't really gain traction, or New Avengers that he wrote, and then like Immortal Hulk comes out, and that feels like just a whole different level. Like
it takes one book, man, and for some reason, it never really happened with Gillen. Like there are people that I don't think he gets as much recognition as he deserves. I think he is a top tier writer that can take a lot of characters. It takes a lot to write X-Men, and I mean a lot. Not everybody can do it, and he was able to do it. He got their voices down, and he was able to change a character drastically with Sinister. Right?
Yeah. Well,
where people like me that have been reading X-Men for 30 years that read it are like, okay, that actually makes sense, and I'm going to fly with it. It's fun, and that takes a lot for one writer to do. Right. That's why I said it's a really hard task to write X-Men.
See, yeah, no, I'm the other way where I really have only not been reading X-Men that long, but Kieron Gillen's run and Jason Aaron's run were the first two I read. And I was like, yeah, this Kieron Gillen is just crushing this. Like it's that whole thing. He's just dancing with all this continuity, but making it feel effortless. It's so much fun with Sinister. I think Kieron Gillen is incredible. I guess I don't view him as like a guy who didn't get the proper attention because I'm obsessed with him. But I guess you got a point that like, he never reached like the Bendis level or anything like that. Yeah,
exactly. He never got the artist.
Yeah.
There's a certain point when you become Jason Aaron, you become Bendis, where you're like, okay, I want that Russell Dauterman kid. He's going to work on my book. You get to pick your own artist, right? You're the guy that says, these are the young guns that are going to work on my book. Kieron Gillen was just like, yeah, sure, I'll take Will's Portasio, apparently.
I'm going to get like hate mail from Omar talking about.
Yeah,
No,
he's
I
gonna
mean,
write you just anonymous mail. This is not Omar.
an
This
email.
is just anonymous person.
By not Omar. I mean, I think Gillen's like, I think he writes nerdier stuff. I think he writes really dorky comics about D&D and, you know, just like silly.
Gillen has 2 Omnis so far. That X-Men needs to be his 3rd.
It so does. I love that book. It's really, really.
Yeah,
really
it was a solid
good.
run. Sadly, the same thing that happens here, though. Half of it was part of the Avengers versus X-Men crossover. So,
See,
well, I'm sorry, when it relaunches, right? The first 10 issues are his own thing he's trying to do with new characters.
I think 15, more than that. It's like 20 issues, right? I don't know.
And then 11 through 20 are literally the AVX issues.
But he's good. It doesn't feel like he's missing anything. That's what makes Gillen so good. Like he gets into these events without missing a step. I mean, I like AVX more than Fear Itself. It's like a mess, but it's like a fun mess where Fear Itself is like waiting in a doctor's office.
I'm not gonna lie, Harry. Ever since like Civil War, most of those events, actually, even House of M to an extent, have just been like I feel the exact same level of excitement for each of these events.
Yeah,
even in the 80s, but I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, right? I was in high school. I would get excited, but even then, I knew like. Well, none of this matters. This is just
well, I learned my first comic, my first single issue I ever bought in stores was Secret Invasion, because I was like, that's such a cool idea for a comic, and then it ends up being just like a bunch of people punching each other, which is what all these events end up being.
Yeah, all the events are just people fighting.
Yeah, Civil War is like, Civil War is like, you know, freedom versus security, post 9/11 kind of relevancy. What if they all punch? And that's the whole book. And then Secret Invasion's like, you know, what if there's like this subtlety and subterfuge, and who can you trust? What if they punch? And Fear Itself is just like hammers. That was my favorite part of this thing. They were just like hammers everywhere. AVX was fun because it was kind of like a culmination of all that bummer mutant stuff where they're all like sad and endangered all the time. I was just kind of happy to see that move on. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Ever since I think when they started the relaunch of new events like with House of M, they all seem just the same level of excitement for me. I'm like, whatever. They retcon so much, even with AVX, right? Like the Phoenix Force is coming. What? No, if the Phoenix Force wanted to be here, it could literally be here.
I haven't read as much X-Men as you, so I wasn't like furious.
Hey, but you read Jason Aaron's Thor, didn't you?
Of course, it's gret.
Well, then you know about the Phoenix Force. Anyway, what would you rate this book out of 10? Since you're our guest, Harry, I'm just gonna let you go first.
All right, I'd give it just because I love this book. I would give it a solid 9, maybe 9.5. I think it's just like a masterpiece.
This is like your favorite book. You own a piece from this book, Harry. You can say a 10. What would you give? Okay, in comparison, what would you give a 10?
Oh man, now that you're asking me, okay, I guess it's a 10. No, I mean, I just think the art's a little rocky at times. I don't care because I love it, but like I can't give it the full 10. I'd say 9.5. I think it's just like it just uses continuity so well. It tells its own story so well. You don't feel like you're missing any. I love that, Maddie, you said that you didn't even notice that it was tied to an event. I think that's incredible. No, it's just, it is like one of those great runs that we don't see a lot. And I read it like once a year. It makes me really happy. And I've got some artwork from Stephanie Hans right over here.
Dude, if you read it once a year and you have original artwork from her, then I'm
pretty
sure this is a 10 out of 10.
All right, 10, man, fine.
Okay.
Stop giving our guests a hard time.
I know.
I have to, because
why not higher, bro?
You're being too hard on yourself. Like it's a good book and it deserves a perfect score. Maddie, what would you give it?
I give it an 8.
8 out of 10.
Although I do think it's possible, with rereading it slowly and with maybe some more knowledge of things that are happening around it, that could be higher. But that's pretty good for reading it fast.
The important thing is you had fun.
I did have fun, and I really liked it a lot because I love fantasy. It's like I don't like a lot of like Avengers single books. Like people, I don't know. I haven't got into a lot of people, and I read Thor. That was it for me. I was like, I'm in all the way. And so I was like, oh, I'll probably like Loki because I love fantasy. And I too play D&D, so I Kieron Gillen, he gets it. Because a lot of these did feel like, I'm like, did you play this in a D&D story and then put it in the book?
He seems like a real D&D guy, in every way.
I mean, he wrote Die, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just D&D. Yeah, he is a D&D guy at
Like
this
he
point.
made a source book for Die, like a D&D source. It's amazing. Like like I said, I guess I get the people that think he's pretentious in the way that he writes. I completely get it, but I don't know. I think it
I don't see it's
suits the.
pretentious. I think Hickman is pretentious. I think this is good.
Interest. I think they both are, but I think they're both good, and that's okay to be pretentious if you write good
I
books.
was gonna
That's
say, I
true.
think they get a
That's true.
pass. I think they get a pass if you're good at it, right?
If you're good at that's really
I'm so
if you're
mad
good at
Hick
it.
Avengers. Sorry, guys.
What'd you
Yeah,
say?
Maddie
so
wasn't
mad
a
about
fan of
Hick
Hick
Avengers.
Oh, I don't. Man, good. We're not talking about that. I'd just be crying for 2 hours, just tears streaming down my face.
I'm gonna
You
give
got
it
it,
a
Mark?
9.5. It was
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun, and there was some good art in here. I know that Harry had his doubts about some of these artists, but we didn't talk about Alan Davis, man. Alan Davis
Yeah,
came in and rocked it.
He's really good. Obviously, it's Alan Davis.
Obviously,
He's
it's Alan
really good
Davis.
in this book, especially.
But the artist, who's the artist? Oh my God, who is this? Let me find it.
How is the Wills Potassium thing up for debate? They look like ghouls.
Carmine D. Dominique. Oh my God.
Yeah. He's never not good. He's always.
His art is so awesome, and he just
wrote-
did the New Mutant stuff, and
he drew the whole arc, and he's
then the final arc too.
He drew the X-Men Magneto Testament origin book miniseries from like 12 years ago now, where it was like just
Scotty Young, like Scotty Young's first book.
No, that was Greg Pak, and it was just a World War II Holocaust story drawn by him.
Okay.
Yeah. He's just really good. He's just like a very good artist, and he's on Flash now, I think. I don't know.
Yes, that's it. Flash.
Sorry to cover your face here.
It's okay.
Rebecca asked why I don't like Hick Avengers. I actually like a lot of Hick Avengers. I just have problems with the plot dumping. I think he's really bad about spending time with characters.
Yeah.
He'll give you really good moments with characters, but not really flesh it out, and then he goes back to more plot dumping. Because his world building gets bigger than him. It gets bigger than him when he tells stories, and he gets lost in it, and I think he loses me in the story there, because he has something really good, and he overcomplicates it, because he's like, this is real smart, I'm going to put other stuff in here. Well, you're doing it, while hurting the story.
Now, alternately, if you're Harry and you read that book issue to issue every week or month, and you had time to obsess over it, like you knew everything that was happening in that super convoluted, crazy story.
Well, I can see that.
If you're insane, you might have a great time with it. I don't know.
I read it all together. So.
Yeah, that's a weird one to read all in one sitting, because there's so much happening and there's so many moving pieces that it can be overwhelming. I think I feel that when I reread it. But
there's just characters I would have liked to spend more time with. It didn't feel bad.
He did the same thing with a little bit with Secret Avengers, not
Warriors,
Secret Warriors.
Yeah,
not so much so with Fantastic Four. I think he did a good job with Fantastic Four.
I've heard that run's really good, and
it's really good, and it's more of what you want there. I mean, I feel like
he's limited to how many characters he can have, even with Fantastic Foundation. Like, there's not that many characters.
He's just a guy that, like, I feel like, he likes looking at his characters as pieces on a board. It just depends on how much you like that board. I mean, I think the way it was always positioned is like with Hickman Avengers was, all these characters, who they are already. Like, I don't think he was really interested in like fleshing out Spider-Man or Wolverine because you knew who they were. But that's a totally valid complaint, and a lot of people have it. That, like, they do feel like pawns being pushed around with all this pretentious like end of the world stuff happening.
I could see that with some of his X-Men.
Well, and normally I really like that stuff.
Yeah,
there's a way I like it to be put together.
Are you reading his X-Men?
I had started it, but I didn't.
Gotcha.
That's a bit of a headache for people that weren't reading X-Men too. Like, it's a lot, a lot. You break down, like, I remember reviewing that with Jess with Omnidog, and I was just like, because it's X-Men, so I was breaking it down like issue by issue and the mapping in the back. I'm like, oh my God, in the timeline, I was just freaking geeking out.
Really into it. And again, maybe that was like what Harry said. We were reading that at the beginning, issue to issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some excitement there because then you have time to really think and how it's going to all put together. Yeah. So I could see where that would.
Well, I think that would make a really good old reader, new reader too. Is like, because I read it last year as it was coming out, single issues, and now it's been collected. I wonder how much of that, especially knowing the big impact issues, right? Because there are 3 moments in that book that
we're talking House of X and Power.
Yeah.
Well,
Holy shit.
The funny thing about that book is that, Hoxpox is like this most incredible, epic, world-setting thing, and we're all going to Sex Island. It's gonna be great. And then like the new series, the new books are all great, but they're very chill. They're all just kind of like
exactly.
Like, they're gonna hang out.
Well, that sounds great.
X-Force is a little bit different though. I think X-Force is a little bit different. Excalibur
Yeah.
finally grew on me because I was about to dump that title. I was like 7 issues in, and I'm like, I don't get this love for Teenie Howard. What is happening? And now she's the one that's going to be doing the Swords of X. I was like, or X of Swords, whatever the hell it's called. But when I got to issue 7, I'm like, all right, I'm in. This is actually pretty good. It turned right. Marauders is solid, but you're right. It's absolutely chill.
Sorry. Freddie mentioned that Hickman didn't do character development because they were developing their own runs, which makes sense because again, I read that on its own.
The thing with the Hickman
that is so ridiculous though. Like when you're giving a team book, like you should be able to develop your characters. I hate somebody told us to read Avengers World, right? Because we were missing.
That book sucks. I'm sorry.
It can suck, but I remember Maddie and I had the same issue with the Hick Vengers where the characters aged. Cannonball's with some chick up in space and had a baby, and I'm like, what? When did this happen?
Friendly, because I did complain that I felt like, something that they didn't do that older comics did do was to at least shout us, like, hey, this is what happens. Like, you need to read this. So at least I know
that's
what
fair.
I'm missing. Because you read through it and you're like, okay, did I miss something? Or
it's the
One
kind
of
of
those
thing
nice little editorial notes would come in handy in new comic books these days. Check out Avengers World to find out how Cannonball impregnated this chick that just randomly showed up. Oh, Smash her. That's what it was.
That after the 3rd act, the time runs out because they jump forward 6.
Time runs out. That was it.
Cap's old. Thor sucks. Tony sucks. It's like, have fun. Everybody sucks.
I remember we were both like, did we miss something? Like, when did this happen?
It's really the kind of thing. I don't think you're wrong at all, Maddie, but like it's just the simple fact that's like it's not focused on building up the characters because it's so focused with the like the 1,000 multiversal factions that are attacking each other and blowing up worlds, and that's just what he wants to write about. And I'm like, give me all of that, but like if you want more, it's not there. It's just not, and that's totally like I think that's a very fair concern. I've been like understanding more as I reread it. It is a very again, pieces on the board. I've said that already, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Leah Williams is killing it on Clark Nato. That is X Factor.
Correct.
Yeah.
Wait, X-Force is the new issue. That's the it just came X Factor. That's the Resurrection team. They're like investigating all of the mutant deaths to make sure.
X Factor's got the Ken and those guys. I did read the first issue of that. Yeah, that's what she's on.
Really good, and
I like her. It's a lot different than any X Factor I've ever read, but
same. But it's so different. It's kind of cool, and I think the art's really nice. And like I'm just so into like the crazy like world of Krakoa that I'm like, I want to read about how they investigate so they don't like repeat mutant clones.
Yes, they need to start releasing annotated companions for Hickman's stuff. I agree. Like, what's fun is like I've been reading them and catching up with them through the Dawn of X trades, and people are like, "When's the omnibus coming out?" And I feel like an omnibus. I mean, you could do it. It'd be fun as hell to map it out.
Yes.
Like, because you're gonna have to struggle like what choices you make with like Excalibur, right? Every issue you can read every issue like of number 1 and then number 2. But with Excalibur, you literally could read Excalibur 1 through 6 before you read any number 2 issues. Where X-Force later on, it'd just be fun to sit there and map it out. But I don't know if they'll ever do that because that is a lot of work.
That's a lot. And I mean,
that is a lot.
Maybe an omnibus with just the Hickman stuff, of which there is no.
That I actually see happening.
Foxpox, the main X book, the giant size stuff, I'm sure more. But like, something that's fun about these books is they're not really aggressively connected. They're all just kind of hanging out and having a good time, pace wise at least. And I think an omnibus would be not the right way to go. I think it's like a really nice single issue experience right now. Or maybe I'm a liar and wrong and they'll just have a big omnibus. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think the sales of it are doing well because people have asked me like how what's the best way to collect it, right? Trade paperback of X-Force and X-Man, or do you get the Dawn of X trades? Because dude, the solicitations for the Dawn of X trades are crazy. They're going up to like volume 14.
Yeah, well,
and I'm loving it.
They're all the individual issues.
Love
that's
it.
What you're talking about. Yeah.
I think that's the best way to read it though, because it literally feels like your monthly pickup at your comic book shop. Oh, I'm gonna go get X-Men. and
That's
like
true.
and it's all in one trade paperback. And I feel like you get more out of it like that than reading like I don't know the 6 issues of X-Force. Right.
Yeah, I can't think of a lot of like intense connectivity right now beyond like every book loves using the Marauders. Like every single writer and team's like, yeah, let's get the pirate X-Men in here.
It's
Like,
Kitty.
yeah, it's Kitty Pride. It's Kate Pride. You know, her
I'm
name's
sorry,
Kate.
Catherine. My bad.
And it's a good name. I don't know. Marauders is easily the best X book I feel right now, but they're all pretty good. I think Excalibur's a little on the edge there. I'm not sure yet, but
It got me towards the end. Like 7 and 8 were pretty solid, but those first 6 issues were kind of rough.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for. I'm sorry, X of Swords. I'm excited for
that's
that.
insane. They're like solicitations for part 22. I'm like, what's all right? I'm gonna buy them all.
Are you saying what are we doing? Are you seriously asking what are we doing?
I know what we're doing. We're capitalizing on a huge phenomenon, having a big crossover.
I don't know if you knew about this, but comics were on a break for like a few months. You know, so now it's time to catch up and get that money, son.
When the comics came back, that was like water in the desert. I was like, yes, I feel like a person again. Like, please. But yeah.
Who's going to brave the theaters next weekend? Oh, dude, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
20. When is that?
Time doesn't exist.
23rd, right? 22nd, something like that.
This weekend.
Y'all ready for Magic and Cope? I don't.
Is that because I'm in Florida, which is without a doubt a nightmare right now?
Yeah, I don't know about Florida.
I'm not going in a theater ever.
I know. Well, I'm okay, I think. So whatever.
Your antibodies only exist for 3 months, so don't.
Well, I got my months. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about going to see a movie. I'm just still like sketched out to the bone. I don't know if like New Mutants is the hill I might literally die on. Like, I don't know. It'd be cool though. I like magic.
But
yeah.
Hey, what are you asking? I'm into Dawn of X, but can we just take Jean out of the picture and just have Scott and Logan screw each other?
The chemistry's there anyway. We should capitalize on that.
Here's the thing: we can't take Jean out because she literally just came back 2 years ago.
No,
there is a set of rules we have to follow. Jean dies in like 5 more years, and then they can bring her back in another event.
Are you saying Jean has to die for Scott and Logan like consummate their relationship? I think that's a little cruel. You gotta.
I assume they went ahead and consummated it with her.
Definitely did.
They're a polyamorous throuple, and that's valid.
Even
They're progressive now, guys.
I love that Hickman has never once said yes or no about this. He just loves people on the internet arguing.
They live together,
and the fact that they're well,
they were roommates.
To be fair, he's also living with his brother and his dad and Hepzibah, and then Moira is like in this little corner in a bubble, just floating out in space.
I think the only way to end Hickman's X tenure is just to have Scott and Logan just making out deeply while Jean watches. I think that's the only way to finish the saga. Otherwise,
I think Hickman will finish it like that and piss off a bunch of fanboys.
Should.
Can you imagine?
Oh my God! So many people will be like, "I'm done with X-Men forever." Just picked up Pox. Oh my God!
Open relationships are fine. It's all fine, guys. Let people.
We're all consenting.
It's all consenting adults. We're all okay.
Jealous. They're having fun. We're all in monogamous relationships.
He did say the new plural of mutant was Ortiz, so his Twitter might as well.
He posted a photo of a Emma Frost holding a sign, and it just says, "I only fuck redheads." He's having a good time with it.
That's so hot.
It's so good.
Like, it sucks because we're going through this pandemic where we can't party like it's freaking Krakoa, right? Like, every mutants in Krakoa have
live vicariously through the cartoons on Mutant Island. I like that.
Yes, exactly. And Lloyd is like, and we're living out here like it's the freaking mutant legacy virus.
Yeah. What is the legacy virus? I'm very uncultured with X-Men. I just like Omar just had a heart attack and he doesn't want to show it on screen.
No, it's cool, man. It was Strike's virus that led out at the end of Executioner's Song. It was pretty much it only affected mutants, so it was like it. Yeah, I guess it was like Marvel's thing that let's talk about this HIV virus. Let's talk about AIDS. You know, exactly, without throwing it out there.
Oh my God!
Because you got to keep in mind.
Politics in comic books?
No,
well, It was unheard of. It was unheard of back then, except for that whole issue, right?
Stripe is Cable's brother that's dressed like a Power Ranger villain, right?
I hate that's the way you described him because
Am I
he's
wrong?
not a Power Ranger villain.
But he is though.
Dude, he had a bunch of spikes and he was at a metal helmet.
The first X-Men comic I ever read, because I was just like, oh, I like Secret Invasion. I should buy every Marvel comic. It was like part 4 of Messiah War or something. Like, and it's just like it was like strife in the future with X-Men. And I don't know what any of this is, and it's a bummer.
Not even.
Mm-hmm.
Like Messiah Complex, Messiah War, to follow up, which was not the greatest story. That's the Deadpool and X-Force crossover with Cable.
That's what I read. That's what I read.
Wow. Oh man, I'm so sorry. You came in with Secret. God bless you. Actually, you came in with Secret Invasion and Messiah War, and you stuck it through, man. And look at you now. You're breaking down Kieron Gillen comics and have original artwork hanging up, man.
I stuck it out. Yeah, I mean, the thing with X-Men at the time was like, I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, well, the mansion blew up. There's no more mutants. There's this kid that might be Jean. Everyone's sad. Like, I don't know why I want to read this. Like, what is going on? Like, that's why
Here's the secret about mutants and X-Men. Nobody's ever really happy. Things happen all the time that make them miserable.
They are now on Sex Island. I appreciate that.
Basically, it was mutant AIDS, right? And only mutants could get it. No, and it was an airborne disease. So, like, it wasn't like a virus that you could get by, kissing or anything. It was literally airborne, and some people would get it. I tell you what, though, like the mutants that would get it were never like popular mutants.
Yeah,
like Magic, I think, was the most popular mutant. Ileana. Colossus's little sister.
She's very popular.
And well, now, right? And I have Bendis to thank for that, by the way. And we can do that on another episode because you know how I feel about that. But
I love to
but yeah, she died. Like Ileana died. Like Jubilee. There was this really sad issue, man. 303.
I just know her. Like the whole internet wants to make out with Ileana. That's how I know her now.
Who, if you actually know the origin of her, is kind of messed up because she is a child. Like she's 8 years old, trapped in limbo, right? But her age, like especially at the end of Inferno, oh man, I can geek out about this. So like my buddy Omnidog, Jess, like he's like, he's all about it. And then I always make him feel guilty. I'm like, realize like she's probably 12 now, right? Like in here, like mental age, she's probably about 12 years old.
I need to rip the Band-Aid and read like any X-Men comics before 2003. Like that needs my first X-Men comic.
You haven't.
I mean, I kind of have. My first X-Men book was Astonishing X-Men with Joss Whedon, because that's Joss Whedon.
Oh yeah,
it's like the ultimate jumping on point. And then it was just Wolverine and the X-Men with Jason Aaron, because that was the school. That was like fun, and it was Chris Bacalo. It was like X-Men in a school, which was like a crazy concept for me, because
I love that.
Green Lantern limbo years are different. That sounds like a loophole.
This
Green
feels
Lantern.
like weird anime. Like, but
that's like something Jess would
she's 300.
Well, you don't understand limbo years. It's aged a little bit different down there.
Yeah, in hell,
dude. The entire Rasputin family during the 90s got wiped out. Like the mom, the dad, Mikkel, like all of them just. And then poor freaking Colossus, which I don't want to spoil it for anybody because we're not talking about X-Men right now.
Well, I knew that he dies and then he comes back in Astonishing X-Men.
Spoilers. Go buy Uncanny X-Men Volume 1.
I've got Marvel Unlimited. I've got no excuse besides being incredibly busy, but that's not really.
Look, now you're getting recommendations. Harry, go read X-Men Mutant Massacre.
I know, I need to. I just I don't know how I'll respond, but that's not an reason not to read it. Like I want to get cultured in that way, and like all that Claremont navel gazing about romance and stuff. I like romance comics. Why am I acting like that'd be a problem for me?
Yeah, that is the basis of his. Yeah. It is one long soap opera, but it is the greatest soap opera ever written.
Messy drama.
So much drama. Harry can read Catcher in the Rye. You know what? Harry sounds like someone that has read it a lot. Have you read? How many times have you read it?
Catcher in the Rye.
How many times?
Twice.
Okay.
It's a good book about an angst. And good for him. I should read Paradise Lost, you nerd. Like get
All right, that's it, Hayden. That's right, right here. Let's get Harry on Old Reader, New Reader, Dark Phoenix Saga.
Do it. I've literally never read it. I just know the cover where Scott's holding Jean, and there's like they're on the moon. That's all I know. And Jean dies, obviously, but spoilers, I guess.
Okay, you got two covers mixed up together, but that's okay.
It's like Scott holding Jean, and
when Scott's holding Jean, there is no moon.
No, he's like his arms are like ahead of her, and so they're on the blue side of the moon.
No, they're holding hands. they're
Oh,
shooting things.
okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
Yeah,
that's
I-
like a Mandela effect thing.
Yeah.
maybe.
Classic Rock 70. I like how there's like a question mark. Classic Rock 78.
Maybe.
Dan, Lovecraft Country first episode was so cool. Agreed.
Haven't
Need
seen it
some
yet.
I need to.
Lovecraft comic. Oh my gosh, you guys!
I know.
It just came out yesterday. What are you doing?
I'm on a. I'm,
Oh,
on a,
years ago.
I'm
I-
only watching new movies, no television right now. But I've been thinking about breaking that for Lovecraft. Not important.
I would
Comic
recommend it.
recommendations for Lovecraft.
I don't know any Lovecraft comic books. I play a lot of Lovecraft board
There was
games.
There was the. Go ahead.
Alan Moore's got a bunch of rapey stuff. If that's your vibe, it's not mine. I know. I really like.
Way to suggest that.
That's all I know.
What
That's
are you
the
selling?
That's
Wait,
the
which-
only Lovecraft book I know, and I'm not really recommending it. It's the only like Lovecraftian theme thing I know. He wrote it with Jason Burroughs drew it, Neonomicon or something. I'm trying to remember. I read it in an airport.
Curtis says that Ed Brubaker's Fatale is basically inspired
Yeah.
by Lovecraft.
Yeah, Fatale's good.
horror.
Actually, yeah, that's a really good book. I've got the 2 deluxes, which I'm happy about. That's like one of Brubaker's better works, I feel.
like all that Alan Moore rapey stuff. I'm like, isn't that what Lovecraft was?
You would probably like Lock and Key. It's
Oh yeah, Lock and Key. That's a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah.
It's literally called like the Return to Lovecraft or something.
No, Return to Ravencroft. No, I don't know. No, that's a different thing.
What? Nope, you're talking about something else.
Yeah,
now.
I am.
All credibility just out the window.
I
Ravencroft.
never claimed to have any.
You did such a good job with the omnibus.
I know. And I'm like Ravencroft.
yeah.
That's
Everyone,
fun.
please go watch Lovecraft Country. It's so.
How many episodes is it supposed to be?
I don't know, but one came out.
It's a season. I'd imagine like 8 to 10 to 12 episodes.
Now the lady that directed that just got picked up to do Captain Marvel 2, right? Is that
No,
am I getting
that's Nia DaCosta. She's the Candyman director.
Candyman? I knew it had Jordan Peele attached to it. See,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
our powers combined, we come up
We got this, man.
with one
Bring it
female
home.
director that I was thinking about.
Yeah.
But I was right. She got picked up to do Captain Marvel 2, right?
Yeah, it should be fun. I don't know about you guys, but like I feel Marvel movies seem like 2,000 years ago. I feel like a different human.
Oh, for real.
I
For
can't
sure.
even. Like, if they release Black Widow, I'll feel like it's like an artifact from a bygone era.
I know.
This is what the elders did back in the before times.
Yeah.
I'm
It's just
excited
odd. I go
for.
to movies all the time. Which now
Yeah.
I'm catching up on movies. You know, like I'm
Mhm.
watching a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Like really catching on things I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Watching,
Like
Black
Adventures in
Cinema
Babysitting.
This summer.
I'm gonna watch that.
I love
Now I'm
it.
gonna.
It's got Elizabeth Shue, man. That was like one of my
Elliot
earliest crushes.
Film.
I don't want to reveal how much of a slug I've been this past pandemic, but I've watched
You
100.
literally got COVID, so it's okay.
Well, now
I
that
think you
everyone
get
knows on the
you get
group
a pass.
Oh, sorry. You okay?
yeah, Jeremy, doesn't matter, man. I'm good to go. No, don't. That's not.
But I was like,
confirmed.
you
No, I'm
posted
good.
You
it.
just
Look
outed
at-
him.
I know. No, I don't care. Yeah, I had COVID. Yeah, but I've watched 136 movies since this pandemic started.
How many?
Jeez.
136.
That's-
All right, I gotta ask. Top 5. What are your top,
Top
5?
five. Okay.
And these are
guys.
new movies you've never seen before.
Correct.
Wait,
That's the-
before, while I was thinking, I need to give a shout out to my husband for this great joke. His stuff is only okay. More like HP Lightcraft.
Damn it.
I love this man more than
I
ever.
miss you. That's really good.
Okay, continue.
That's 5 movies. The Florida Project is really good because it's like this good. And have you guys
Solid.
seen it?
I'm gonna watch it.
It's great. That's in Orlando. That's where I went to college. I've actually like explored some of the abandoned motels in that movie, which is kind of fun. Mud with Matthew McConaughey is kind of incredible.
That's the movie that made me a Matthew McConaughey fan. Because
Right.
before Mud, all he did was
Yeah.
like all these romantic comedy movies, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's how you knew Matthew McConaughey. But when he came out with Mud, I was like, okay, this guy can actually act.
He's so good in that movie.
Yes, he is.
I watched every movie with Superman in it, which means the original, every single one that not the cartoons. I'll get to. So Superman 1 is like a 10 out of 10 perfect
Oh,
movie.
God
I
bless you. Yes.
cannot get over how good that movie is. 2's
Yes.
okay. 3's pretty funny. 4 is nothing. Superman Returns is like
Force nothing.
I have nothing to say about it. I can't. Tell
It
you
was
that.
so awful. I
It's
loved
nothing.
it. It was so bad.
Superman Returns is weird because it's like a bunch of young actors all cosplaying as the character actors from the original movie, and also it sucks and it's 2.5 hours long, and I do not like that movie.
You didn't like
Man-
Superman Returns. What did you think
I
of Man
don't.
of Steel?
I don't like it either, but I think it's way more fun and interesting than Superman Returns. Man of Steel is like a movie that's all about Jor-El and Krypton and not about the Kents. And every mistake in that movie stems from making it about this cold, sterile sci-fi setting and aesthetic and origin more so than the Kents. And it also sucks, but it's very pretty and it's interesting. And the music is unbelievable. It's like some of the best stuff Hans Zimmer's ever done. I watched the 3-hour Batman v Superman.
The director's cut.
The director's cut. It's still bad, but like that guy's clearly doing a thing. It's not a good thing. I don't like it, but like he is interesting. It's an interesting movie to watch. And then Justice League. Yeah.
I've been asked to respond to this one. I'm supposed to say Aliens 3.
What the fuck? No one says Aliens 3. Where is Hayden giving you money on the side?
I've actually.
How did you know it was Hayden?
Because he's the only person I know that picks Alien 3 over any other alien.
I love you.
So I've also just watched all of those. I think Aliens 3 is actually pretty good. It's got real problems, but it's super interesting. Again. Sorry,
but in the scale of Aliens, where would you rate it though?
Probably third. No, I think Alien 1 is probably perfect. Alien 2 is like really good. Alien 3 is flawed and interesting. And Alien 4, again, is a direct-to-DVD movie with a really hot Ron Perlman. But that's about all it's got going for it.
Oh, but it's the guy that did...
I had to do it. Okay, Hayden texted me.
I knew it, Hayden, you bastard. So
that's my bro.
I've been waiting to spring this trap about
Alien 4 was directed by the French director that did Amelie. Did you like that movie? I love.
I haven't seen Amelie. I need to see it.
Yeah, it's the same director.
I always mix up Amelie with Matilda, which I don't think are very similar.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Like I don't know. I've never seen Amelie.
Brendan Routh was nice to look at.
Okay.
Yes. And he did a really good Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman.
He can be a good Superman. I think it was just poor writing.
Yeah, it's a boring movie. He's great. I love Brandon Routh. He's got these really creepy blue contacts that makes me think he's got like a closet full of bodies. But he's a really good Ray Palmer. He's amazing on Legends. Gosh. He's so good.
Thank you, Harry. Finally, someone talks about Legends on this damn show.
You've never talked about Legends? That's crazy. It's an amazing show.
I'm trying to get everyone
she does.
And everyone in the comics to watch Legends. I try so hard.
Legends is like one of the only shows that feels like a comic book. It's really, right? It's just so fun.
Thank you. That's what I've been saying.
It's got good content.
It's a comic book show. It is.
Yeah.
I can't I have tried to watch CW superhero shows and I know
they're all different and you skip season 1.
Are they though? They all have this one.
Just skip it. Just don't watch season 1. It's not worth it. Just go. You know the characters. You've been reading comics for so many years.
All right, fine. I'll give season 2 episode 1 a try. And I'm not doing it for Harry because screw him. I'm doing it for Maddie. Sorry, Harry. I'll watch freaking whatever the crappy movie you liked.
Okay, so 2 more. I want to hear the rest of your
Risky Business is really good. That was another
What was the other movies you liked?
Oh man, Risky Business is really good because it's like
Rebecca De Mornay. My God, in that movie.
I didn't realize it's like a kind of bitter movie about Tom Cruise becoming a pimp. That was a shock to my senses. I was like,
you didn't know the plot at all?
No, I was just, Tom Cruise. I'm like,
you just know the funny, goofy scene where he's sliding around with the underwear, and you're like, Tom Cruise.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, that's the
I think it exists in the ether.
Yeah.
Assumed.
And you watch that scene and you're like, oh, this is like a fun, goofy 80s thing. And it kind of is, but it's also about like Tom Cruise being deeply over his head and kind of like the end of innocence.
While his parents are away.
Yeah. And he becomes a straight up pimp. It's insane. Yeah, man. I don't know. I've had a lot of good movies. This sounds insane, but Happy Feet 2 is actually kind of incredible. The dancing movie.
Do I have to watch Happy Feet 1?
Dude, if you watch Happy Feet 2, I'll give you $100.
I'm not gonna watch Happy Feet 2. I don't think my kids even want to watch Happy Feet 2.
Show them. They're dancing. It's made by the guy who did Mad Max. It's incredible. It's like a
what? Are you serious? You're fucking with me. No, he did not.
With you. George Miller directed the 4 Mad Max movies and both Happy Feet movies. And I can't tell you why Happy Feet 2 is incredible, but when you watch it, you will understand.
Were you on medication?
I'm literally going to watch
Happy
it
Feet?
for you.
Thank you.
Elliot, if you're in the chat. We're gonna watch.
Curtis is saying he's now. I don't know if he's agreeing with you that George Miller directed or if it's a good movie. I'm thinking you're right.
Let's say both.
No, I don't think it's both.
I don't know. I watched all the Oceans movies, the Oceans 11, 12, and 13. I rewatched Dark Knight Rises, and Bane is still one of the funniest, amazing parts of that entire trilogy. Bane rules, like straight up. I love that character.
I'm just so glad they took that whole accent and put it in the Harley Quinn cartoon.
That's one of the funniest.
Oh my god!
Oh, I haven't seen that yet either.
You have-
I
All right,
don't.
so what do I need to watch? Harley Quinn or Legends of Tomorrow?
Legends of Tomorrow.
Really? Over Harley Quinn?
Well,
Maddie,
Harley
do you
Quinn's
agree?
shorter.
I think you'll like Harley Quinn first.
See, there you go.
Yeah,
That's
Harley
the
Quinn-
answer.
I
like-
still really think you're gonna like Legends if you just give it a chance. It's the goofiest shit.
The Harley Quinn show has like that really good energy that a great Deadpool or Harley Quinn comic has, where it's very funny and it's insane, but it's also like doing something rather than just being a bunch of bullshit.
It's really touching. I mean, like, there's
Yeah.
really good moments. It
Yes,
has Kite Man.
It does have hell
and
yeah.
Clay
It does have-
Man. Pink Shark.
Kite Man's incredible. No, Kite Man's the best he's ever been. It's like genuinely very funny. No, it's
love
like
him.
it's just a very emotionally thoughtful show about abusive relationships. I swear to God.
No, yeah, they do it really
Yeah.
well.
It's a cartoon, right?
It is. It's a bloody.
So wait, you went through the Oceans. Like, did you do like the Sammy Davis Jr. or are you talking about the remakes?
the Soderbergh movies.
Okay, so then did you watch the all ladies cast? What was it?
No, I need
With
to.
Aquafina, I think Aquafina was in
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I watched it. I was
It's okay.
drunk when I watched it.
Oh,
I don't remember much, but I
That
remember
movie-
there was all ladies.
Yeah, the movie's kind of pleasant. It doesn't really have like a lot of like narrative thrust. It's just like, what if these cool actors hang out and steal some stuff? And then they do. And it's like, wasn't this fun? I'm like, it was fun. All right. It's a movie.
That's enough.
Their scheming is all over the place.
I walked out of the theater
like, oh, you know what? I hated the second one because they did something so meta.
no, second rules. Everyone hates
Dude,
the second
dude,
movie.
no,
I
no,
know.
no.
movie
You know
rules.
why? You know why?
Yeah, why?
Because of the Julia Roberts thing.
Dude, that's
that pissed me
amazing.
off. No, it's not. Go to hell, Harry. Anyway,
Maddie,
we
we know
don't
what
have
we're
enough time
talking
for that.
about.
No.
I cannot wait for us to talk about Bendis, Omar. That's going to be a great time.
It's going to be an
But no,
interesting
in
time.
Ocean's 12, George Clooney's married to Julia Roberts' character, and George Clooney
Tess.
gets
I can't believe I
Tess.
remember her name.
And
Tess.
yeah, and he gets sent to jail, George Clooney, and they have to like keep the heist going. So they recruit Julia Roberts' character Tess, and they're like, "Hey, you look just like actress Julia Roberts, so you're going to pretend to be Julia Roberts."
You
and
can't
we're gonna
do
the
that.
heist." But then he runs into Bruce Willis, and it's just insane. And
No,
Bruce
I
Willis thinks she's
love
Julia Roberts.
dumb
What?
shit like that.
It's
That's
I
pretty
beyond
good.
dumb
I
shit.
had no
Pretty
interest in these movies until you mentioned that, and I was like, no, that sounds dumb as hell.
Well,
I'm in.
what's fun about Ocean's 11 is that it's like an incredibly cool movie. It's just done really well. And then Ocean's 12 is like, what if they are really bad at heists the whole movie? At the very end, it's revealed they've been on top the entire time. I get why people don't like
They
it.
moved the building one floor. I was like, what?
It's a
Like
good
that's
movie.
that's the Fonzie moment of jumping the shark in Happy Days, which is just jumping the shark.
I'm all for ridiculous stuff, and the Julia Roberts thing was good, personally speaking.
All right.
Justice League's really bad, by the way. Sorry, I just forgot about that.
Yeah, it is.
I like it way less than Batman v Superman. That movie's boring as shit. Sorry. Anyway.
But you haven't seen the director's cut, dude.
No, I
And-
won't lie.
and
I'm
won't
kind of
change.
interested in this.
How much money do they have? Like $9 million.
Yeah, they got like 30. I'm kind
What?
of
$30 million? That's
Yeah, dude.
insane. That's
Yeah,
like, you know how many indie flicks you could like fund with that?
well, we got to see Zack Snyder's twisted vision of like, what if all these heroes sucked? And I'm like,
I
it's
swear,
great.
Ryan Reynolds better reprise his role as Green Lantern.
I'd watch it. What's funny about the Justice League movie, the Snyder cut, is that he's starting to release stuff online about it, and he's like shown like the reskinned Steppenwolf, and like, you know, in the original movie, it's like he's like a guy with like a horn helmet,
Yeah.
and that's like, check out the new Steppenwolf, and it's like, it just looks like a Mortal Kombat monster. It's just like this thing.
I haven't seen it.
I don't see much of an improvement at
Yeah.
all.
Did they get Henry Cavill to come in and do shots without the mustache?
They should have kept the mustache. No, I don't think so. I
They
don't.
should have given him a beard, man. He
It's a
was
plague,
dead.
man. I don't know if they're making it. But
What's up, Dennis? All right, let's start wrapping up. Maddie,
Oh.
you make a purchase. Is that what you were doing?
No, because Harry mentioned Justice League. I sent him the Nando v Movies thing, like 4-parter where he fixes Justice League, and it's so good.
I'll watch
And I
it,
told
yeah.
everyone to watch it because I'm like, this is
She has
what
been.
it could be, and
Put it in
no
the
one
group
does
chat.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. To be
Harry,
fair, she
you-
tells us I read everything you tell me to read. I don't watch everything you tell me to watch, though. See, but I read what you tell me to read.
Legends of Tomorrow. So you should read Legends of Tomorrow. And by read, we mean watch.
The
tonight.
subtitles on Legends of
Like,
Tomorrow.
Step
Whatever.
1, cry to Joy Division over Journey into Mystery.
Amen, Ace. Amen. Ocean's 8 would have been better with Helen Mirren. You're right.
That'd be good. Yeah, I don't remember Ocean's 8.
Really quick, Omar Reyes, thoughts on essential editions compared to Omnis, other than Omnis having hardcovers? No, hell no. Stay away from essential. You do like phone books, Omar? That's all they are, man. They're just phone books. They're black and white with
Yeah, they're kinda
shitty phone
boring.
book pages. You don't want those. Stay away from them. They may look nice like when they're on the shelf and you're like, oh, that looks cool way to collect X-Men. When you open them up, man, they're black and white, not even color. That's why they're $17.
What are your thoughts on compendiums, Omar? Do you like them?
I don't like those books at all, but I've heard that they've gotten better over the years. But
All right.
I don't
Hedging your bets.
All right, I'm gonna wrap this up.
All right.
Everybody, thank you
Yeah.
for hanging out with us. And if you're catching this later, let us know what you thought about Journey into Mystery. I hope you give this video a like. Hope you subscribe for more videos. And of course, we have a Patreon through which you can vote for our Patreon pick. And our Patreon pick of the month is Invisible Kingdom by G. Willow Wilson. So we'll be reading that next week.
Ooh.
And big shout out and thank you to Harry for joining us.
Yeah,
We'll have to
thanks
come
so
back
Yeah,
on. This was
man,
fun.
thank you.
Yeah, I miss you guys. Thanks for having me on, and I'm excited for all of us to go yell about comic characters at a hotel soon enough.
Yes.
Um,
Isn't that-
Yes, for sure, man.
I miss conventions way more than movie theaters, and I miss movie theaters a lot. So that's where I'm at with that.
This show would have been better with Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I agree with that. It could have been just Helen Mirren just telling us what she thought of Loki the entire time. All of us would have been quiet.
Invite me on again, and I'll just wear a Helen Mirren mask, and we'll just pretend that I'm a
In.
Seabass.
You can't play that card, Green Lantern. Most manga was drawn that way, not John Byrne or Dave Cockrum's. Although you get to see Storm's nipple in one shot because of the way the color is. But that's a story for another day. Everybody.